Steve Jobs has made a retail splash with the fast-selling iMac, but Apple still claims less than 5% of the personal computer market. To get a bigger piece of the pie, Jobs has to convince loyal PC users to embrace the unknown and make the switch to Mac. His solution? Showcase Apple products in a sleek yet educational setting.
One of the things we want to do is create a place where people can learn not just about computers, but more importantly, what they can do.
In 2001, Jobs oversees the opening of 25 Apple stores nationwide.
It is so wonderful to be putting these stores with their phenomenal buying experience right in the neighborhoods of our customers.
It's a high-stakes gamble. Sales are slowing industry-wide, and just as Jobs opens his Apple stores, rival PC manufacturer Gateway closes many of its retail outlets. But it's also a gamble that pays off. In its first year, 40% of the store's computer buyers are first-time Mac users. By 2010, Apple will have doubled its market share to more than 10%, while in-store sales balloon to $60 billion annually.
Apple stores are the single most profitable store on a square foot or cubic foot of any stores in the world.
Meanwhile, Jobs pushes into retailing on another front. This time the inspiration is his love of music.
The whole campaign in the early years was rip, mix, burn. And while everyone was enthusiastic about a cool new device, the rip, mix, burn, not so much.
Up until now, iTunes has made it easy for users to rip CDs and transfer songs to their iPod. But the program lacks file-sharing capabilities. Websites like Napster allow music lovers to download songs for free, albeit illegally, but their reliability leaves much to be desired.
On the file-sharing networks, you had to do a lot of searching. There was all porn and viruses, and you never knew what you were getting.
Despite the risks, file-sharing sites continue to gain popularity. By 2001, Napster alone hosts more than 60 million users. Meanwhile, the recording industry is reeling, losing billions in potential sales.
They were getting killed by Napster and the other file-sharing networks. It was a big free-for-all. Their stuff was getting shared all over the place.
Where the music industry sees a threat, Jobs sees an opportunity. He makes a proposition. Let consumers purchase music online through iTunes.
Steve has a reputation as being a hardball negotiator, but his negotiations with the music industry was the opposite. And he said the way to compete with free is to make it easy. If you make it easy, people will make these purchases.
Apple's in the business of telling consumers what they will want, not to actually create what consumers have already expressed that they want.
Jobs assures industry executives that iTunes music files will come equipped with anti-piracy protections.
He very much spoke their language on stealing, and they loved hearing that because nobody else in the technology world would actually admit it was stealing. Here was this, Moses who wanted to lead them out of the desert.
But following Jobs to the promised land will require faith. He insists that iTunes sells songs individually for 99 cents a pop. Some artists are appalled.
Selling songs was heretical. How do you break up Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band? How do you break up Hotel California? It's not just one song, it's the whole album. It means too much. It's too creative.
The music industry needs convincing that Jobs' proposition is in their best interest.
These guys are technophobic and they're scared, yet they're brutal businessmen. The last thing they really want to do is embrace the digital world. But they had just experienced Napster, where they saw their business sailing away into the sunset. And the thing about Steve is he has incredible powers of persuasion. He can convince anyone of anything.
Steve had this vision that certain artists were going to make this thing cool. And by getting those artists, it created a legitimacy. He took extra care getting Dylan, getting the Eagles. He was really focused on U2.
The music labels give Jobs the green light. And when the iTunes Store debuts on the internet in April 2003, it's an immediate hit.
So now you not only had a cool device, you had a cool device and a cool way to buy music, which nobody else had. The genius of the iPod was not so much the iPod. The genius of the iPod was iTunes.
In little more than a year, iTunes will sell 100 million songs.
Steve Jobs came in with an entire different model for how the music business will work and had a profound effect.